Namaste.
Namaste.
Today I am again with Dr. Niranjan. In previous video, he talked about aghoris, temples and many other things. You can watch them later. In this video, we will discuss about Satvik food and especially food and spirituality. Let's start. So, Satvik food is really required for the spiritual growth?
No, basically, Satvik food is designed to be Satvik because it easily gets digested. And if you see the three gunas, how they were designed, no food stays Satvik if you take it beyond its limit. Most of the meditators and spiritual seekers, they take khichdi and very basic or minimum form of a diet which is considered to be Satvik. Without onion and garlic, nothing which would propagate your body. When they take the amount of khichdi which is needed to their body, that stays Satvik. When you take more food, the same Satvik food becomes Rajasic, the same Rajasic food becomes Tamasic. It's a very tricky design where they have made these three gunas. The way you speak becomes Satvik, Rajasic, Tamasic according to the way you speak. When someone asks you a defined question, you answer and you reply to that, that becomes Satvik. Someone is asking you a very simple question and you are telling something over his head, it becomes Rajasic and Tamasic at the same time, because it has to be very appropriate. That's what the nature of Satvik. So if you see the guna of what Satvik food can be, what Satvik nature can be, is very minimal. Rajasic is something acquirable, something as an extra dose. Tamasic is like it's not in your control. You just take it, then you will be looking after for the for something that is going to come. A person who is into spiritual seeking, they would always understand that food should be minimal to this body. Then your functionality would be to the mark, to the extent that you can seek of it. So that's how food becomes Satvik. For example, many people, they ask me, I eat meat for once in a month, once in 2 months. Do you think I am kind of Rajasic or Tamasic? For those people also, I ask them, you eat meat, you digest it, and you are okay with it. You are not emotionally or physically getting any disturbances. Then your meat is also Satvik. The biggest problem of the current generation is the same meat which could be of Satvik nature to cavemen, to our own ancestors, has become utterly toxic, has become Rajasic and Tamasic, because every single day, every single meal you are demanding meat. So that is where you are entering into the Rajasic and Tamasic realms of however you consider. This is about food. Food is really related to your spiritual nature in that way, because when your body is not demanding it, you are taking it. For example, sugar. Sugar is absolutely Tamasic. Even if you take one spoon of sugar, it's absolutely Tamasic. But you take 1 spoon of sugar or 2 spoons of sugar and you are doing more physical work on a daily basis, the same sugar which is Tamasic to a guy who is working on computer would become Satvik to a person who is working on farms or doing some real hard work, because it can be minimally invasive to them. You don't need any sugar. You are doing the least physical exertion to your body, and you are eating so much sugar, that will become Tamasic to you. And you are doing so much hard work, you take 2 pinch or 3 pinches of sugar more, your body will digest it. So you are turning out to be Satvik only, even though you are taking food more than the extent that you need it. So it depends on that, how food becomes Satvik, how food becomes Rajasic and Tamasic. It's the same with the way you control your mind, the way you make habits, because this is a theory stated in spiritual seekers, where you can define anything into Satvik, Rajasic and Tamasic. Your own self, your relationships, your mindset, your food, your age in your life, how you age becomes you turn out to be Satvik, you turn out to be Rajasic. So there are so many realms to it, but they have intelligently designed these three gunas, and real spirituality is going beyond these three, that you don't even have a control over these three. Either I am doing Satvik. So these are initiations, just like ashram, temple, a spiritual entity, spiritual support. All these these are initiators to your journey. Once you get initiated, once you are into the path, I don't think so. Like in many mantras also they describe spiritual seekers to be Trigunaatita, who would state themselves to be against all the odds of these gunas. It's a very tricky thing to understand. Before, if you are in tamasic version of taking food, consuming whatever you're taking, you need to understand it, so you need to come back to Satvik. But once you understand it, you'll never go back to Rajasic or Tamasic. So whatever you take, it is Satvik only for you.
Do you think this Ayurveda and spirituality mixed nowadays? Ayurveda says Rajasic, Tamasic and these things, but spirituality is completely different path, I guess. Like, do you think it's mixed with this?
In India, nothing was different to see it in a very deeper perception. Nothing was different. Everything was a combination of science, technology, divinity, mythology. Everything was an absolute combination. It's up to you how you interpret it, how you take the information from it. So how Ayurveda is related to spirituality is like, most of the people who used to enter into Ayurveda were spiritually initiated. Or most of the Ayurvedic practitioners who see the nature of human beings or nature of patients who they attend to, make them turn out to be spiritual. So that's where it is connected. In India you have a thief who is spiritual. You have a fisherman who is spiritual. You have a kumhar who is spiritual. Every realm, every Shudra, Vaishya, Brahman, every caste system or against the odds of every single caste and subcaste we have made, we created spiritual entities. Later on, they turned out to be gods and goddesses who were literally an inspiration to this country. Turning out to be a spiritual entity was never discriminatory until you acquire the knowledge of being a spiritual person. Before that, you yourself are confused, either to stay on the material side or on the immaterial side. So you constantly be exploited by people. So once you are firm enough to the spiritual seeking and the spiritual path, understandable for people who come to you, and there is no take back from there. It's always that, whatever I have, I am ready to give you. And whatever you want to give, you give it to me. If you don't want, it's up to you. This should be the perception of spiritual seeker. So when you go off this, the same quality, because mostly spiritual seekers, they would fall into Satvik zone only, Satvik to Rajasic. If you cross the Rajasic zone, then again you need to be reminded by someone that you are not really defining spiritual seeking. You are going behind some extra qualities, extra activities, which is just pushing you towards tamasic guna. It depends on how you really carry these things for your whole life.
So some of the spiritual practitioners, they don't eat onion garlic. They think it's a tamasic. But if you see in Ayurveda, it's a medicine also. What you say on that?
Onion garlic, mostly this is a experiential note, because most of the parts of the world, they started eating onion garlic. And there is no doubt onion garlic are medicines, because, to an extent, they always help you to bring some nutrition to your food. The only version where they say, onion garlic would produce certain amount of heat in your body, would produce deeper desires in your body towards having physical bondage, towards having more wealth and more taste in food. So that is the reason they started keeping it away. And some people, they started keeping it away because they come from the ground. So you're not supposed to pluck anything from the ground. So the culture which defined onion garlic to be unhealthy was not completely wrong even. And at the same time, they never said that, you are absolutely leave onion garlic. So if you see lots of families, Indian families, regularly they use onion garlic. When there is a festival, especially the Dashami or any New Year festival where they do fasting, they don't eat onion garlic. During that time, they don't want the food to be more tastier. They don't want the food makes you more lazy. Most of the festivals are also designed to have some mantra initiation, to read the Puranas, to read the stories of the ancestral gods and goddesses. So during that time, you're supposed to be more active, you do that. But they are not bad. They're definitely useful to your body in any question, because as a doctor I do understand that onion garlic is very much helpful to add something to your diet, and it has enough fiber and it has enough vitamins and minerals which would help you. So taking beyond its quotient would always the same theory comes in. If you are taking it in proportionately, it becomes sattvic, otherwise rajasic, otherwise tamasic.
So in Tibet I heard this Buddhist monk, they eat yak and all. In Thailand I have seen Buddhist monk go early in the morning outside. There are many Buddhist monasteries in Thailand.
Yeah.
So they go early in the morning to beg everywhere, and even if someone give meat and all, they eat. So Indian spirituality is different. Like they say like you eat Satvik food, otherwise you eat vegetarian only. What your thought on these things?
I already told you, if you are eating meat every day, then you are not sattvic. If you are eating meat once a month, maybe once a year, you are definitely sattvic. And at the same time, if you are eating meat once in a month, you are getting sick, again you are not sattvic. Tibetan monks are doing some certain practices, Thailand monks doing certain practices. You can't define them to be completely spiritual just because what they are doing. And you can't undefine them that they are not spiritual also. Because like I told you before, being spiritual is going against these three gunas. Because if you are a real spiritual seeker, you are a trigunatit, which means you transcend these three gunas. So for example, you ask me, in Tibet there are so many cruel practices that they still follow, being Buddhist. So Buddhists going against all the odds. They didn't want war to happen, they didn't want violence to happen in the society, so they went against it, and they literally they have grown strong enough to propagate this ideology throughout the country. So when this went to Tibet, obviously Tibetan people, they were not cruel, but they had so many things which were inclusive with the meat. There was so many rituals, so many food habits which were included with meat, and somehow they don't have enough vegetation, so that was their livelihood. Even now if you see, most of the vegetables that they get it from lower altitude, so that they can reach out and eat some vegetables. Seeing it to the ancient times, people they never had access to go and buy all these things or bring all the stuff through roads and whatever transportation system. So they always used to find a lifestyle which would be suitable for that area. So lots of people, they ask me, they are Hindus and they are Buddhists. They cut the corpse and they feed the eagles and they feed the vultures, which is very, very odd and which is completely against to any humanly exercise that you can think of. But as a community, they have been doing it for ages.
Right.
So for example, if you see the halal, the way the halal is made, the halal meat is not about the way you cut or the way you verse the Quran. It is always meant to be, the halal meat is meant to be organic and preserved meat and cut before 24 hours, and you are supposed to eat that, and that is how the culture and the tradition was done. But right now you say it was halal, the halal was done in Dubai, I am eating it here. The halal was done in England, I am eating it here. It means that your meat is so processed, so much processed. Halal is just a name there, you are not doing it properly. So even if you go back to many traditions in the world, in matter of without any relation to religion, every tradition has a scientific and lively adaptability that they had at that point of time. So someone who used to eat meat, suddenly because they turned out to be Buddhist, they can't change it, right? And they didn't see any difference after eating meat also. They literally, even if you see now also, every 100 meters, 200 meters, you will see a monastery in Tibet, and literally so many monasteries have been destroyed there. But still you see so many, because the monkhood and the Tibetan culture was so intense when they got mixed with Buddhist ideologies, that they were just seeking pure form of support from some community which would help them exist as their own entity. So this was given by Buddhism. And the same way you see Buddhists in Sri Lanka, you see Buddhists in Thailand, Cambodia, Taiwan, China, Tibet, many parts of them. You will see Sanskrit words converted into Chinese, Tibetan, Thai, Burmese, and they are writing the broken Sanskrit words, broken Tibetan words mixed with Indian lineage of whatever Buddhists they used to write. Names, the kind of relics, the kind of scriptures they used to. Even the name of the language, during that time, mostly the Prakrit was the language. The Prakrit was also quite merged with all these languages. When they didn't understand, they just put the Sanskrit name. When they understood half of it, they took half of Prakrit, half of Chinese, half of Tibetan, half. So they mixed it well, and they ate well in the same way with the culture also. So if you see Tibetans eat meat, so they are not Buddhists. Is that possible? Was your question? But at the same time, after Buddhism came, they started being vegans also. They started leaving meat also. They started living on minimal food also, which was a very good quality that came in. This happened in Thailand also. Thailand never had a begging culture. They never used to offer anything to monks. This monkhood, it came very recently. Before Buddhism, this didn't exist. In India, Adi Yogi was a Adi Bhikshu, because he never used to stay at one point. Shiva as an entity, if you see, he used to roam around the country saying that, Bhavati Bhiksham Dehi. And he used to speak of philosophy, speak of yoga on his path. And that's what his idea of propagating what knowledge he had, what wisdom he had. He used to sleep in samshan. This is a living story. This is not something I'm making it up. So from that culture, it ended up till the recent adaptation of Hinduism, which was Buddhism, where Buddhist monks, out of their experiences, they never used to go behind wealth. So they always used to go for alms in the streets, asking for if you can donate some food. So this became very prosperous especially in South Asian countries, Thai, Cambodian. Like if you are a revered monk, you will get food which is enough for 100 monks at least, and you don't even need to go to ask bhiksha also. Your disciples would go and ask for bhiksha. They'll give you people because people believe and at the same time people seek support from these people. So all they can give is bhiksha. So bhiksha is not a bad thing. You cook something and you offer it to them. So if meat is there in that, what is wrong in that? It's not like Buddhism is adding meat into this. Buddhism is Buddhism or any religion, any adapted religion of Hinduism or Indian origin religions would always tell you to go towards vegan diet only, because we have seen in and outs of meat and meat production, meat industry, what happens with meat. And at the same time, this country had enough natural resources, serene agricultural practices, so we always had an adaptability towards vegan diet. So everyone who came here, they have enjoyed vegan food, and you can say towards lacto-vegetarian diet, and they conveyed the same message wherever they have gone. So probably after Buddhism went to Thailand, they have started eating more vegetarian food than of now. This happened in the same way. Literally, even today you will see there are so many followers of Indian gurus and Indian spiritual seekers. They, being in USA, they become completely vegan. They do puja, they do japa every day, which is absolutely against their own lifestyle. But this happens because out of their intuition, out of their nature, they change these habits. And this becomes their reality, because any human being, if you see throughout the world, they are 95% vegan diets. They have vegan diet only. They tend to say that I am a non-vegetarian, I eat meat. Otherwise, I am I ask so many people, you state yourself to be carnivore. Can you? I'll give you meat for 1 year. Can you eat? You'll be sick of it. And at the same time, your body will say, I don't want meat. It's not like I tell you or someone else tell you. So our body is designed for vegan diet. So meat is an extra added flavor, extra added thing. Same with the milk, yogurt, meat, so many things. But milk and yogurt or anything that comes out of milk is not doing anything harm to that animal. You leave that animal to exist. You still take some amount of milk, and from that you process and eat these things. So this was not a deceitful thing to do or deceitful things towards animals. But meat is like literally until you kill an animal, you don't get meat. So when you are intelligent enough to do this much agriculture, when you are intelligent enough to understand that your body accommodates more vegan diet, then where is the point of eating that? That's the wisdom of eating meat and not eating meat. Beyond this, I think, everyone can digest meat to an extent, and everyone can adapt to meat eating habit, because for generations together you have been eating it. Either you take it in India, any other country per se, you will definitely see there was certain amount of communities who would enjoy eating meat. So when it was done according to the culture and tradition, it would never harm you also, because culturally, traditionally speaking, they don't eat meat every day. This is unwritten rule to any culture. It was always a feast to them. You take it from hunter gatherers to the recent post-colonial human beings wherever in the world. It was always a kind of feast to them. Whenever they used to have it. Otherwise, everyone used to stay in vegan diets. Now people, out of their lifestyle, out of their money, out of their celebrity nature, they eat meat on a daily basis. Where does this proportionately fit into your lifestyle? That becomes a disease to you, and which is ultra processed. You're feeding chicken with so many antibiotics, steroids. You're feeding cows with so many steroids and antibiotics. So in this process, you are polluting so many resources, and at the same time, the meat which you are getting is processed and stored for so long, and then you are eating it. You are absolutely, you are supposed to be of ape family, where you pluck a fruit, pluck the birds and leaves of trees, and you eat. From there, you came to a level of a human being where you started processing food and keeping it, storing it for years together and eating that, which is the best way. So it's a way of interpretation where you get either meat eating, not eating, either being sattvic, either being rajasic. So you need to cross these realms to understand what it is to be a real spiritual seeker.
So another question is bit different than spirituality, because most of the people having this issue of the weight gain, many people gain weight even without having junk food. For such people, how to lose weight? As a doctor, what you recommend? Because nowadays there are many products to lose weight. They are scamming people, and there is a big market for that. What you recommend actually?
I can't say it would be an absolute recommendation, because first thing that people has to do is completely come out of the existing medications. People these days, they take medicines for diabetes, hypertension, thyroid, asthma. Every single medication has a toxic role in your body until you don't see it with a deeper eye. You constantly think that I'm taking medicine for BP. My BP is staying stable. So I'm happy. Why should I think of taking not taking medicine on a daily basis? I can just buy it. I have a lifestyle. I have enough money to afford it. I buy it, I eat it, so what you are doing to your body is your body is not supposed to eat these chemicals because it was not in tune with it. For example, if you eat bindi, if you see bindi from ancient origin, your body might have recognized it, identified it, genetically infused it in your body, saying that if bindi is coming into your mouth, your body will say, okay, I'm happy, this is our ancestral food, I'm not going to complain this, I'm going to digest this and send you the byproduct. Now you are taking a BP medicine, thyroid medicine, diabetic medicine, whatever you think. Now you are taking it, suddenly if you see, read the mindset of your body will say, where did this come from? I have never seen. A generation before, his own parents, his own grandparents never took this. Now why they are giving this food? Because for body it's not toxin. Whatever you put in your mouth, in medical terms you say per oral, is a food only. It's nothing against it. So now you are giving it for 1 day, 2 days, 1 month, 2 months, 3 years, 10 years, 15 years, 40 years, 50 years you are taking this. Now what happens is every drug that you are taking, it's not like they take the same drug. After 5 years, the drug will not be used, the potential of the drug goes down. You shift to another drug. So when you are changing these drugs, when you are putting more toxic substances, which are not completely justified by your body will start gaining lots of fluid in your body. First thing is, liver becomes, stressful. When liver becomes stressful, it can't eliminate so many toxins from your body. So which would make it, more and more stressful. That's what brings more fluid, more dilution of more possibilities where you can dilute the drugs that you are taking inside. Luckily what happens is like most of the drugs, they get eliminated from our body through kidneys. So with this process, whatever drugs you are taking, you somehow eliminate them. Whatever exists in your body, it works, and your blood pressure, diabetes, whatever it is, stays in control, and you are fixed with this mind, with this mindset that this is going to treat me. Now the biggest problem is you are constantly taking these medicines, and you don't know what are the after effects and side effects that they are going to bring. So you can't really come out of the after effects that they are going to bring, and you slowly start increasing weight. So this mostly happens with steroids, hormones, abuse of many drugs that you take on a daily basis. So the first thing that you are supposed to do is like, if you are on any added medication which you are taking for years, that would definitely create a toxic environment in your body. You are supposed to come out of it. Someone say, I can't come out of it because I'm going to be sick, I'm definitely going to sick. For them, I don't have any recommendation, because even if it is from my own family, I can't explain them to an extent, because it becomes authoritative, saying that what you're taking is wrong. So we can just advise them. Beyond that, it's up to them. And intense fasting is something which always helps you. Fasting was the thing which was there in our traditional culture. So if you see any culture, any tradition, fasting is absolutely there. You go to any Eskimos culture, you go to Indian culture, you go to South American culture, every culture has fasting. So which you always used to keep a check on your body to how many calories need to be fit into the body, how much extra fat is coming into the body, how much extra protein is coming into the body. So it always dilutes the extra food or extra calories that you take. And if you see human lifestyle before colonialism, before in India, if you see before Christ, most of their lifestyle was physically intense. So even though if they don't do fasting, you don't need to think of being obese. It's a very rare thing to happen. People never used to be fat. So this is the problem that you're speaking of. Having overweight is a recent issue which is absolutely 40-50 years old. Before that, no one. Even I tell people in this part of country, central India, you will never see people who are obese.
Exactly,
because they're very physically active. So they don't have the they don't have the luxury of being fat and being diseased of being fat. So that's what makes the difference. So if you want to go traditionally, you are not on any medication, absolute fasting to your extent, either you call it intermittent fasting, subjugate fasting, however you call it, you will know your inside that till this I can take a break. It absolutely takes away all the toxins from your body, and it boosts your own immunity. Because when you give less food to your body becomes 2x, 3x, 4x active, saying that I'll find more food, I'll find more food inside the body to burn. So when the extra food that is getting stored in your body is burning, it takes away at the same time whatever toxins, whatever metabolites that gets accumulated into this, they also get burnt away. And after that, you maintain certain amount of lifestyle, you come out of it. Otherwise, again you are going to be fat, again you do fasting, again you be fat, again you do fasting.
That would be all about self-control.
Then it comes to self-control.
I'm really grateful that you shared your wisdom. That's it for this video. If you have any questions, please comment below. If I meet him again, I will ask those questions to him. Thanks a lot for watching. Namaste.
Namaste.